Don't these Tuesdays feel like they just come around ridiculously quickly? Today is the big update. This is really what I would call, despite the fact I know we had a World vs. World update earlier, this is what I would really call the day of the competitive feature pack coming into Guild Wars. We had a little bit of a change with World vs. World. We've had a balance patch. We've got an entirely new lobby. It's like a new map's come to the game with new achievements. I think there's a jumping puzzle in it and things to collect. There's a new PvP game map, and there have been changes to a lot of other things too. So really cool stuff. I want to talk to you guys about it. Basically everything that was pegged in those early blog posts is now in the game, and it's a dangerous thing when I get into PvP, but this patch might have just done that. So let's take it from the top and see what the devs have got to say. There are even some weird things that have come into the patch I wasn't even expecting. So, first of all, there was one thing, aside from the balance, that affected non-World vs. World and non-PvP, and it was a really weird thing. They opened the patch notes with it. It's a change to fractals, where they say that they fixed a bug in which players, pets, clones, and minions would scale their stats based on the fractal scale. I have no idea how that works, or how no one had ever really talked about that happening before. Maybe it only happened under fringe circumstances, but their wording there suggests it was constantly going on, which is crazy, really. I wonder what that means for their effectiveness at late scale fractals now, or indeed even early ones. But yeah, that's really one of the only changes for the PvE players. And then they run straight into balance. So I'm not going to spend all video talking about balance, as I know we probably could. And honestly, I think this balance patch will disappoint a lot of us, because while it was unexpected, and that is very cool, and I've been constantly asking for more frequent balance, so I would be crazy to complain. While it's got all that going for it, it really is 90 to 95% just PvP stuff. It doesn't touch World vs. World, it doesn't touch PvE or raiding or any of those things. It's a PvP patch to go hand in hand with a big PvP update. So if you don't care about the other stuff, you're probably not going to be too interested in a lot of these things. That said, I will pick out a couple of things that were curious to me. As an Elementalist main, obviously, I tend to find myself gravitating towards these changes a bit more. They say that Staff Ellie, which really, when you break it down, is very CC and support heavy, rather than being a big, damage-oriented kit. Most of its leaning is towards support and CC. It isn't really that great in PvP, because it's a big risk to have to stand in the various fields and things it provides, and people have opted for a long time now to use focus, which you're even seeing a bit of in this video, where essentially you get obsidian flesh, and you get stuff like swirling winds, and you get cleanse and reflect and things. So staff can't really compete. So for this PvP patch, they did buff a lot of Ellie stuff and kind of broke a rule they had from the design of the staff way back when, which was they didn't want for any one attunement to have a blast and a field together on the staff, which I believe is what they had always adhered to. So like, if you think of Earth, it has the blast, but it had no field. You would have to attunement swap. But they kind of broke that rule here with water now. The water too is now a blast, and the animation and the style of skill has for years felt like it should be a blast, and they finally added that now. So now what you can do is drop your big water or your small water field and blast it right away. Maybe even more interestingly than that though, you've also got the ice field there, and you can quite comfortably get that ice aura coming out too, and that's something you can achieve now with that new blast. So we'll see whether Staff Ellies can do a bit better with that. They also buffed the small water field geyser massively. 60% extra heals, and they say because it's a lot of risk reward to stand into it. How much that will really help, I don't know. Now here was a change that affects everyone. Static field, okay, that's the air 5. The big ring that will stun people if they try to pass through it. You can't even dodge into it. This has actually been shrunk now. So the history of Elementalists was all of the staff abilities used to be a lot smaller, and there was a trait that would make them bigger. And it kind of became a must-have pick, so eventually they just all rolled it in, and everything got bigger. But this meant that Elementalists, ever since that change, have been lumped with the larger static field. And there are perks to having a smaller static field, in that a smaller one, if you're trapped inside a smaller one, it gives you less room to kite around if the field itself is smaller, right? So they brought that up and said, well, look, we're making it smaller again now, because we feel that that's where it is at a stronger place. And that might be true in Conquest with the smaller nodes and stuff, but I really do think it's up to debate what is actually the better version, and it's kind of up to players, right? That's why blasting stuff was a cool trait before, but when it got deleted, they're now in these weird situations. Like in World vs. World, I might like the bigger static field, right? Because it can cover more of a choke, and this is a change that does affect everywhere. So curious what you guys say there. Again, I don't want to ramble on about balance too much. Let's talk a little bit about Guardians. They say, yay, Guardian support's getting a lot of love, but again, PvP only. So they say support builds for Guardians have fallen out of favor due to the strength of the support builds on other professions. In this update, we've looked at a few core skills on Staff, Mace, and Shouts to help support Guardians retain viability. I won't list through all of their stuff, but as far as I can see, that's pure PvP. Why? Come on, I want support Guardian to be better in the other modes too, definitely. You remember the last balance patch, we had a big change to Thieves Shortbow with their choking gas. Became a lot more like Guild Wars 1 choking gas. Very, very powerful. Probably too powerful for PvP, so they've reined that in and changed its functionality a bit. For Revenant in PvP, they've generally buffed Jarlis, which was underperforming. For Ranger, they've generally buffed Axe Main Hand in terms of its power capabilities, because it's supposed to be a hybrid weapon and it was doing mostly Condi work. For Warrior, they buffed both the Rifle and the Torch. I'll leave it there, because there's much more exciting things to get into, but that's the balance. And like I say, frequent balance, whether it is only for one game mode or the others, I think is a good thing for the game. So yeah. Moving on, let's just talk about general PvP things. They changed the dailies. This wasn't mentioned in the blog post originally. I'm not actually sure I like all of the changes here, so I'll just read them out. The daily achievements to win a PvP match with a profession have been removed. A daily achievement has been added to just win generically now. A daily achievement has been added to participate in a tournament, and you guys remember, as of this patch now, this new format of PvP is in there. There's 3 opportunities to get that daily every day. And then lastly, they've changed the icon of the Potion of PvP reward. And I think they did that because wasn't that the same icon? It was being used somewhere else in the game, and now it's got its own unique one. So what I am a little bit miffed at is I really liked the specific profession ones, because I felt, at least for me, that it encouraged me to get out of my comfort zone and learn other classes a little bit more and feel rewarded playing classes I was a little bit weaker on. And by removing this, they've kind of encouraged people once again to maybe just pigeonhole into one build, and generally we're worse players when we do that. So I'm not quite sure. I liked those, and now it's just generically win. And the other thing about doing a daily where it's just to win, I always get frustrated if you're on a horrible losing streak and you just want that one daily and then you miss it 3 times in a row. That's like an hour of your life gone if each match is 20 minutes long, and that can always be a bit frustrating. So I don't know how I feel about that, but minor stuff in the grand scheme, I grant you that. So here's a weird feature, again not in the blog post. There's a new end of match system. Now, I don't have any footage of this for you guys. Indeed, in this video, there's only really going to be me running around in the lobby, and I apologize for that, but as of right now, when the patch came out, if you try to do any kind of hot join or custom arena stuff, I don't know about matchmaking, I haven't tried that. It just crashes your client and you can't get in and play anything, which sucks. But supposedly, they say this, we have introduced a new end of match feature for ranked, conquest, and stronghold matches. So only when you're playing ranked. After a victory is declared, players are teleported to a unique location on each map. Each player on the winning team stands victorious on a pedestal with celebration skills. It's funny because little things like this really do make me think that they care about PvP, and they're doing these almost superfluous small things, but they do slowly build up to make Guild Wars 2's PvP look like it's, you know, really got some AAA stuff going on behind it and makes it feel more comprehensive and complete. So I don't know, this sounds cool. I'll at some point get in there and play a ranked match. I haven't done any PvP since Season 5 concluded, which was a while ago, so I feel very rusty at the moment. But as soon as I shake that off, you guys can be sure to see in the footage in one of these upcoming videos that new end screen that we get there. All right, so new map, they say, the Hall of the Mists. So Hall of the Mists is the 2v2 team deathmatch map that they alluded to before. So it is an actual game type, a deathmatch game type that is going on here. A lot of people, when they heard of this 2v2 map coming, they were like, finally, we're getting deathmatch. Don't forget, Courtyard has been in the game for a while, and there are Courtyard updates I'll get to in a second. But so this is what they say. They say that in overtime for this map, that healing and stealth is disabled, and then the map is filled with a deadly fog that deals damage based on a percentage of maximum health. So the idea of this is obvious. It's so that people don't just score a single kill maybe and then hide out, or when they have the higher amount of points and just stall until eventually the timer runs out, and then they kind of farm wins like that with this kind of toxic behavior. I think this is only customs, but at the same time that sort of sucks. So when it hits overtime, everyone basically is put into a victory or death situation where eventually you're going to get rotted out and everybody is dying at the same speed. So they say they've disabled healing. Now you might think, oh, does that mean you just can't activate your skill 6? Well, no, because there's so many sources of healing in Guild Wars 2. My guess is the way this works is everything works like normal. You can still pop your heal skill and get the benefit of, you know, a rune that procs on a heal skill, or get some boons from your heal skill or whatever, but the actual healing component of it won't work. If you're a Mesmer that's traded to heal when you use a shatter skill, you can still use your shatters and you'll get all the perks of using those shatters except the healing part. I think that's the way that this will work, and the Deadly Fork hopefully will push people together to make them fight. I wonder if they'll do it Battle Royale style. That would be very curious to me, but I guess we will see. They also say that they've updated custom arena configuration to allow game mode selection. So now we can actually have custom arenas for the die-hard Stronghold fans. Yeah! The revival of PvP is here, guys. Alright, maybe that's not a huge thing, but I guess we can have deathmatch customs, we can have conquest customs, and we can even have the conquest one. The biggest thing this will probably do is stop people having to play Strongholds in customs, because that tends to kill custom maps. It's like everybody's having fun playing lots of conquest matches, and then Stronghold comes up and everybody leaves, and now players can actually define, okay, I don't want that game type to appear, and that's quite nice. And finally, on the new map, respawn is disabled, so that's quite curious too. They kind of ordered that a little bit weirdly there. And there's a new option for number of round victories required to win the match. So this all sounds very, very cool, and I'm interested to see how that plays out and even get in the map and show it to you guys. But as long as the clients are crashing, can't really see. Courtyard! Courtyard is the existing deathmatch map. My main experience of Courtyard up until today is you'd have some people who queue into unranked specifically for Courtyard. They'd be terrible at the game except fighting as a cell of 5 people. They'd be all about that team fight comp, and they'd just squash you, and then you'd go again, and then they'd squash you, and you'd go again, and it kind of sucked. So Courtyard has been given a unique murder ball style secondary mechanic. So as we all know, most of the maps in Guild Wars 2 have a primary mechanic as a secondary. Courtyard really didn't have anything. It now has a secondary mechanic. An altar in the center of the map allows players to commune for a short duration to obtain an orb. This, I guess, is quite similar to what we saw in the newest map, Colosseum. Only one orb it will exist at any given time. While a player holds the orb, the score will be periodically given to their team. More team score is given if the orb is closer to the center of the map. The orb will deal damage to the carrier based on their maximum health, and players who die while carrying it can't be resurrected. When a player holding the orb dies, the orb is returned to the altar at the center of the map. So this is really quite intricate. I can see what they're going for. This is, again, it's like the no stealthing thing in the 2v2 map. It's to force people to the center of the map, to force conflict, to make people actually engage instead of just scoring a single kill and then kiting away and playing super defensively, because that's the way Courtyard would run a lot of the time. One team would win the first team fight, and then they could just play super defensive. They could turtle up, and it could be really hard for the other team to get back in it. With this orb, though, they can take that risk and acquire the orb for themselves and then go be defensive themselves. But it sounds like a huge risk as well, so you cannot be resurrected when you've got the orb. You will obviously still be able to respawn after you're defeated, but yeah, I'm curious to see how that looks. It shouldn't be too fundamental visually of a change on the map, but a fun one nonetheless. And now we actually have 2, hopefully, reasonable maps to play in our customs where we choose that they're going to be deathmatch customs. That's cool. Alright, so what have you been looking at in the background the whole time? This is the new Heart of the Mists. They simply say in the patch notes that Heart of the Mists has been given a visual overhaul. It's a totally different map now, guys. You know that I've been hoping and looking forward to something like this for a while. It's because I really want the game to look at its best for all of these PvP streams and all this downtime people have while they're queuing. So the question is, how good does the new map look? I think it could have looked better still, even further than what it is, but it does absolutely look a lot better than the old Heart of the Mist. There is more going on. That deathmatch area is there. There's a jumping puzzle. There's all these little llamas you can run around and collect. There's more space for the various things that are going on the map. There are more services. It's brilliant there. The loading screen art is gorgeous as well. Overall, I'm really, really happy with this. And even, guys, if you don't PvP, if you're just a PvE or whatever, it might be fun just to go there anyway. You don't have to fight any other players to go and enjoy collecting all the llamas. It's sort of like the Carca hunt in Lion's Arch or whatever. You know, it's fun, and there's a little jumping puzzle there, and at the end of the day, it's a new area to explore, and it does feel like a very fresh, very fun new map, and so that's pretty cool. So yeah, they say they added a public free-for-all arena. You can see I go in there. I think when you go in there, there's no way to get back out. I got my ass handed to me trying to leave through the portal. They've got the exclusive VIP area, but I can't get there because I haven't, you know, participated in a tournament to win and see what it's like just yet. And the other thing they say in accordance with all of this, of course, is that automated tournaments are now live. And if you look at the video footage here, you can see a little bit of what that user interface is like. Really cool. It's an extra tab on the PvP panel. Qualifying points do appear on there, as I suggested in a video last week. Now, there was one thing I missed in that previous video, and that's that the devs, shortly after it went live, I know, sod's law, every time I put a video up, there's more news, and I've just missed it because I was a little bit too quick for my own good. Or a little bit too late, I guess, depending on your perspective. So there was an interview or a questions and answers on the forum in which they clarified what they meant when they said you'd get gold rewards. And they quantified it. And you can see it on the panel here. This was incredibly exciting for me to see. If you win the monthly tournament, you, as an individual, not your team, you yourself will win 100 mystic coins, I think that it was that they said, and 500 gold, in addition to the other stuff like the pass and stuff. It's 500 gold per player, and so you've obviously got a 5-man team, so they're giving 2,500 gold every month to the top team, and then the lower teams get pretty substantive rewards as well. That's a huge amount of gold. I'm going to be really sad and jealous and boiling and seething to see just the same team keeps winning it, and these players get ludicrously rich and just hoard it like greedy dragons. But if we can get some real competitive stuff going on in Guild Wars, it's going to be amazing to see people really fighting hard for that monthly reward. I think that that is more than enough, and seeing it right there on the user interface, just hovering over that 500 gold, imagining it being yours. Oh, I need to be careful because that's a massive time sink to actually go and decide to get a team and try and win some monthlies. But fun stuff indeed, and it's great to see automated tournaments are indeed live. They've even named the tournaments after the various gods. It's cool. It's very cool. It's interesting to me that the monthly tournament is the Cormyr tournament and not the Balthazar one, but hey. And so really, that's most of the PvP stuff. Do expect more in upcoming videos throughout the week, as I can actually get in and show you what the new 2v2 map looks like and show you what Courtyard has been tweaked slightly, and maybe even some queuing going on too. But just to wrap up for today, another little thing to point out, World vs. World had a couple of small updates. They changed the matching algorithm. They were using Glicko before. I think this is an area of the game I really don't understand and people have often complained about. But they basically changed what they're calling one up, one down. So one will move up, one will move down, and they're going to see whether that presents better matchups for people. And if it's decided by the community that they like it less than Glicko, they'll go back to that. And another thing, the simple nameplates idea, you guys might not remember, but in World vs. World these days, you don't see the full name or title of the people you're fighting. They're just represented by circles. And so now, if you enable that with the simple nameplates option, which I seriously recommend you guys do, enemies will appear as triangles and allies will appear as circles. And this way, it will be really easy to differentiate or distinguish, as they say, between your enemies and allies. So World vs. World did get an extra little thing going on there. They did not change, as far as I can see, the outnumbered pips issue, where people are seeking outnumbered maps instead of actually playing in order to reap massive rewards. Maybe that'll be something the devs are looking at for the future. And that's about it, except the Black Lion store, where there is a notable new set of Jormag dyes that are now officially the brightest, whitest dyes that have ever been in Guild Wars 2. The new Permafrost dye is ridiculous, so if you guys want to look ultra shiny and white, go for that. I've got a little bit of footage there on maybe some kind of upcoming outfit that Shaman data mined for you guys in the background there. So there you go. That's the latest. That's what's going on with Guild Wars. I will see you guys very shortly for more juicy details on what's been going on, and hopefully not get too addicted to some of this new PvP shenanigans. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've been enjoying, and I'll see you next time. Have a great evening, guys.